We're live.
I feel like I was in a kind of Beam Me Up Scotty or something, and I was waiting to be delivered somewhere. Hello, good morning, Bertie.
Good morning, Debbie. How are you? Where in the world are you? You don't look in your normal studio this morning.
No, I'm look, I'm hanging out with the Virgin Mary. I'm at my nan's house. This is how people do business these days, isn't it? From all over the place. So, hello, anybody who's watching. I am from Gosport. Or I'm
Gosport.
in.
And hello to anyone watching on the replay as well. So, yes,
Yeah.
well, this is our first live, so I'm not really sure what's happening. I don't even know if it's working. maybe we're just talking on our own. I don't know.
Well, this
I'm just
part of business, isn't it? Because what we're going to talk about is kind of setting up businesses, how you can set up tools that you can use. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is just giving it a go, and putting yourself out there and talking about your ideas. So this is us doing it in reality, showing up, giving it a go, testing things out. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, it might work and it might not. Well, I've got a notification saying that I'm live, so that's so we're on Facebook anyway. So
Well, that's good. That's good. Hello, everybody. So yeah, what are we going to talk about this morning, Bertie?
Okay, right. We've got people watching. So there's more people in the comments than it's saying watching live. Anyway, so we've got Johnny Priest and Catherine Rogers. Morning to you both. It's working. So that's good. We're live.
Good morning, Johnny and Catherine. We are live, yeah. So this is exciting.
It is, and it's good that Catherine's here because Catherine took my live virginity. Anyway, so we did it live together first. So yes, thanks, Catherine. After all, I don't know when that was. That was ages ago, wasn't it? So it's taken me all this. What are you pulling that face for?
So does that mean I'm sloppy seconds?
You have to lower the. You have to lower the tone.
Good morning to this business broadcast.
Yes, exactly. Well, at least you know what you're going to get. So, so today we've labelled it Ask the Experts. Obviously, we've used that in the loosest sense of the word. So, what we're talking about today is, well, last week we went live on Instagram and we were speaking about how you could test ideas before you launched a business. So, if you had a business idea, what are the things that you can actually do to get launched? And we had loads of questions off the back of that. So today we're just going to talk about some of the more tactical aspects. So go into a little bit more detail about the things we can do. Sorry, Catherine, we've already gone on. Catherine's just said, "Oh my God, you can't see the comments, can you?"
I can't see the comments.
Steve as well watching. Morning, Steve.
Shall we just introduce ourselves as well? Because obviously we're on the. I'm beaming into the lovely Bertie's audience, and not everybody might know who I am. And dropping clangers left, right, and centre. So just in case you don't know who I am, my name's Debbie. It's that way, isn't it? There.
You pointed, was it?
Debbie Duda. So I've been running my own business for 7 years now, which is maybe why you can call me an expert. And before that, I kind of set up a couple of social enterprises. And I spend most of my time either working one-to-one with solo entrepreneurs, helping them build what I like to call happy businesses, or lecturing at the university on digital marketing. But whether that will be in the university or online like this, nobody knows. So it's exciting time. So that's me. That's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and for me, for those that don't know, although you should know if you're connected, unless you're just a random recruiter or a tech place or Bitcoin or something. So my name is Bertie. I am a serial entrepreneur. So founded fillmybelly.com in 2005. That then sold to Just Eat in 2012. Since then, I've worked with and on many different startups, so specialize in getting people launched. So that's what I do now. So I mentor and coach new startups to get them off the ground and just help them take their ideas to that next level. And if you've got a business already, then just accelerating and what you can do to focus on growth. So yeah, so that's me. If you don't know who I am, but you should, because you're connected with me. So shame on you if you didn't know that.
They might be watching on the replay though, and be like, "Who are these two?"
I forget about the replay. Remember, we are almost live virgins, aren't we? We're certainly on LinkedIn. We only got approved last week, so this is all new. Stop pulling that face. It's discombobulating.
So we were gonna come up with some top tips, Bertie. What's your top tip number one? And remember, if you're listening and you've got some questions, you want to ask us questions about anything business related, please pop them in, and we'll be going through them as we go through.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a live Q&A. We're going to be doing them every Friday anyway, unless LinkedIn kicks us off. We'll see. Yeah, so if we've got questions as we're going along, please jump in. But we've just got a few things to talk about. So yeah, last week we were just talking about the importance of testing an idea, of actually just getting out there and talking about your idea and testing it before you go and spend time and money, energy in building a product or building an app, because this is generally the mistake that almost everyone that I speak to makes, is that they'll come to me normally from a point of view that, okay, I've got this idea, now I need a developer, can you advise me where to get started? And actually, normally when I question and go into a little bit more detail, they're a million miles away from actually needing that development assistance, because they don't yet understand whether customers want that product, and yeah, whether or not anyone's going to use it, never mind necessarily pay for it, which actually can come further down the line. We're not too worried about that at the moment. Right at the beginning stage, we're just looking for product market fit, essentially. Like, does your business solve a problem, and are people going to be interested in it? And that's the thing. But normally people miss out that step because you get excited about an idea, and then it's like it's almost like, right, I've got this idea, now I'm going to go ahead and build it. I'm going to build it in a silo, I'm going to keep it secret, and then we're going to do this massive Apple-esque type launch. It works for Apple, so it'll work for me. And then unfortunately, generally what happens in pretty much all cases is it's tumbleweeds, because the whole idea has been built on assumptions. And sometimes those assumptions are correct, but a lot of the time those assumptions haven't been tested as well as what they could. And you can test assumptions a lot earlier on. So that's really what we want to talk about today, is just dispelling those myths, actually, that you can get out there. You don't have to do this Apple secret product launch to get success. Generally, always people compare it to Apple. Apple are quite unique. And let's remember as well, Apple have been going for nearing 40 years, right? You know, they've got a huge following. So you can't really compare apples to apples. I just made that up.
You can't compare apples to apples. And also we were talking about, you can't hear those bells, can you? Can you hear that in the background?
No bells.
I'm literally in the south of England, and the Rag and Bone Man is going up and down, ringing the bell, shouting Rag and Bone. I feel like I'm in the 1950s sitcom. We were also talking about the idea of like not being wedded to your initial idea, like to be like, this is the one and it's so good, and people are giving you feedback and you're not listening, and you're going through that testing stage, and you're so convinced that the idea that you've got is right that you're not prepared to pivot or change. So also there's this thing when you're really early stages in your business to be as kind of malleable as you can be, to change, to adapt your ideas, to soften certain edges or put different things on, because really if you're creating a product, it's for the customers, isn't it? It's for the people who are going to use it, and being able to listen to those and think about that. One of the reasons why kind of Betamax, I remember teaching this at university, like innovation. One of the reasons why Betamax didn't trump VHS is because Betamax was actually a better quality. But the people who were creating it were so interested in the quality of the picture, they didn't realize that people wanted to watch movies longer than an hour long. So you could only record things on Betamax for an hour. You couldn't record like a whole movie because the quality was so good. And actually the customers would rather have a slightly shitty quality but be able to record a whole movie. And that was one of the things that kind of killed that project. But they were so wedded to the good quality picture, they forgot what people needed it for, which is to watch a whole movie. And so it kind of flawed. And I think sometimes you can get really stuck into the details of what you think is important, that you stop listening. So one of the things is just be really good at listening and be open-minded to what people tell you when you're coming up with new products and services.
Exactly. There's this big idea that we have to get something perfect before launching, and it all has to be polished. But again, that perfection and polish is generally built on a product that has just been created in your head, or maybe with your team internally, and it's not been tested fully. And I made that mistake with Fill My Belly, right? Like when that launched, the idea was very different to what it then turned into. Well, not very different, but if you think of, everyone knows Just Eat now, and the idea is that you order from, you go in there, you find your takeaway, and you know where it's coming from. The original idea for Fill My Belly was that it was going to be this hub for all food, but you wouldn't necessarily know. So if you ordered pizza, we would then send it to a local pizza shop, and we'd work with different ones. And then Indian, Chinese, and the same. Now, we launched with that concept, and I'd sold that concept to the takeaways, and they loved it. But actually, we'd never tested that concept with consumers. We'd pushed all the advertising out to drive people to the website saying order takeaway online, but we didn't say that you were ordering through us necessarily. So the expectation was that people were looking for takeaways that they knew, and they couldn't see them. So actually, what they were just ordering blind from a website that was blue, which at the time we didn't realize is the worst color for a food-related website. But it took them a long time to unpick and recode. It was a period of about 9 months, then go back to the takeaways, which was actually quite a difficult message then, conversation to have, to say to them, look, I know we told you you were going to be the only one in this area that was going to be delivering, etc. However, we need to put your competitors on here now, because the consumers have spoken and the consumers want choice. So it was almost have to rewrite all those contracts. That, over that period of 9 months could have completely been eradicated if I'd have just done some more consumer testing and asked that question. And the question was, do you actually care where your takeaway comes from? I assume that they didn't, but people did. So I thought I knew best. So it's very easy. And I've got lots of examples since then of where I've made those mistakes, or when other people have made that mistakes, and you can see them. So you're right. You have to be prepared to pivot and change as you go through your business.
That's a great example. And also there's like a bit of eating humble pie, isn't there? Like, oh, I thought it was like this and now it isn't, and now I have to go back and change it, and I've got to change my thing. And it's hard to do that, isn't it, as a human being, to go, oh, maybe I didn't quite get it right, and now I've got to go and do that. But if you want your business to be successful, it's all about, entrepreneurship is all about kind of being innovative and able to change and adapt to the market, isn't it? And so that's a big part of it.
Exactly. And I suppose I just took that for granted, in that, that was sort of my first real sort of big startup. So having to go back, yes, it was difficult conversations, but equally I could have just said, no, this is how it is. This is how it's going to work, and you've all got to live with it. And then that would have failed. So unless I'd have taken that tough decision to change, and it was a big decision at the time to pivot in that way, it would have been no more. So, and I probably wouldn't be here today talking about this. So
each failure, each thing that you do wrong is a learning curve, isn't it? Like I think people talk about that so much in business now, but maybe 10 years ago, failure was seen as a failure, where now there's so much out there that a failure actually is an opportunity to learn, to change, to build on what you do. And each failure just makes you stronger, I think.
That's right. I mean, it's, you might hear that thing in school, but I don't think schools actually reinforce the learning from failure. It's almost like we know what's best. Like you hear it, it almost becomes a cliche. It just becomes something that like somebody might say, but then the actions don't correlate with that.
Yeah. If you fail your exam, it's not like, oh, well done, you can learn from this. It's like, you are a failure.
Yeah, exactly. You're never going to get a job.
You're not going to get the job. Yeah, exactly. So what's next on our hit list of advice, Bertie?
So I suppose we were just talking I suppose we just started by actually talking about some tactical things that you can do without putting a lot of, I mean, it's going to take your time, right? But you don't have to put too much cash in this. And I've seen people invest cash in a lot of startups. I've done it myself. Either in mine and others that actually then have built products that then can't sell. You don't need to do that. Like, we've got it really easy now. Always I know, like the kids, you don't know what you just take for granted. Like you can buy, like it's so easy to buy a domain and link it to a landing page. You don't need a website. So a tool that we've used in the past, and I've got loads of clients using this same tool, is one called Carrd. It's CARRD.co. I can probably put it on the screen, but I don't know what I'm doing with this thing yet. And what Carrd does, it enables you to just build simple landing pages. It's almost like a Canva, if anyone's used Canva for websites. And it allows you to build simple websites like in seconds. Like anyone that I've sent this to, like as a client, it's like do this, and then half an hour later, they've got a website. So you can just build a one-page.
They look good, don't they? That it's not like it's not. They're really beautiful templates that you can use. And the thing that I like about it is super cheap. Is it like $19 or something for the year to have a website? That's, you know, it's such an easy tool to use and to test your ideas out.
Exactly. So yeah, there's a free version which you can build on, but yeah, even the paid one, when you have to start integrating with the likes of MailChimp, and I think it integrates with Stripe as well, which is a payment processor. I think it's like $19 a year. So it's yeah, for the quality of the tool that you're getting. And bear in mind, like 15 years ago, this stuff didn't exist. If you wanted a website, you'd have to pay for hosting, you'd have to find a web designer, use something like Dreamweaver and all of that stuff, and it just would have been terrible. Now it's super easy to do that. So that's they're the first sort of tips. Oh, thanks, Steve. Steve's posted the URL for us, very kind. That's it, carrd.co. And Google Domains, just for buying a domain name. So you buy a domain name, then you can link it, and then you could have your own website that's just linked up and live. So if you haven't got a website and you just need a landing page to test things, just do something like that. And you don't have to go into any detail. An important thing to remember as well, like if your product, if your service genuinely is solving a problem, and this is, I think, what a lot of people forget or maybe don't understand, people are very forgiving for, you know, like a few bugs or things not necessarily working. Is if it's genuinely solving a problem, then people are forgiving of that. Like, remember at the beginning, you're targeting like the innovators and the early adopters. They're the only people that will be buying at that point. So it's a very small segment of the market, and they are forgiving. They're willing, you know, they're the people that go and queue for the new iPhone and buy the things without thinking about it. You know, when a new piece of tech comes out, they're the people generally that you'll be targeting at the beginning. So they are a bit more forgiving, and they understand that, and generally, like, they'll become your advocates. They'll want to be involved, and they'll want to help and support you with those sort of things. So that's something important to remember at the beginning. So Google Domains, buy a domain name, 10 quid, and you don't need a .co.uk or a .com anymore. You don't have to overthink it. You can just literally buy something, see if it works. It can be an obscure name, just buy something, and then you can always change it later. It doesn't matter.
One of the things you could do with that website, if you're paying for it, is you could link it to something like MailChimp, and then you could kind of pre-sell stuff, couldn't you? Or, you know, if you're interested in this, or you want to buy this course, or you want to buy this product, then, you know, register your interest, and then you can start capturing people's email addresses from that kind of landing page, and that will give you some indication as well of whether people are interested. And plus, then you're starting to build that community, that sense of who can you market to, who's interested, and just gathering people's details. Just exactly. Use it as a way to build your database, really.
Yeah, that's right. And let's throw that in there as another great free tool to add in. MailChimp, it's super easy to set up. Like, it's half an hour and you can start collecting email addresses. Yeah, Steve was just saying as well that he liked Dreamweaver. Going back some time, does it even exist anymore? I don't know, but finds WordPress easy to get on with. Yeah, I mean, WordPress I would probably say is almost like the next stage. You can just start with WordPress, and there's like Squarespace and Wix and things like that. So if you actually want to, and all of these things are super easy to start an actual website. If you do an e-commerce, you've got Shopifying, all of that other stuff. So you don't need to commission a web developer straight away, because generally then it's just building on those.
This is the thing about, I was going to say I'm a Squarespace girl, but I wanted to go back a little stage as well. I was thinking, like, if you're testing, you don't even necessarily need to even be thinking about websites. Like, I've worked with people who have just created an Instagram page and just started selling straight from the Instagram page. Just, here's the product, if you want it, DM me and you can buy it. And there's plenty of people who use this platform. One of the platforms we're live on, LinkedIn, you can use your profile as a landing page. It's got an about section. It's got your you can have testimonials on there. It's got your email address on there. You can have, contact you. So even going back a stage, you can start talking about stuff without even having a landing page or a website. So if even that feels like a step too far, just set up a social media account. But if you're doing that, think about who your clients are, who the clients would be who would buy your product, because that will be really important, thinking about where you're going to build that community and that audience, and how you're going to reach those people that could potentially buy your product.
Yeah, that's right. I think another important thing as well when you start building this stuff, because it's very, like, when you start building websites and landing pages, it's exciting and you can get carried away and your brain starts going everywhere. Oh, we can do this and we'll build email capture and things like that. Just really just take a step back and think exactly what it is are you trying to test. So as an example, if you were to look, if you were to be testing a product, let's just say you've run some Facebook ads. I'm going to talk about that in a moment anyway. Let's say you've run some Facebook ads that go to a website, and then on there you have an email capture form. Yeah. Just because someone didn't fill in the email capture form doesn't necessarily mean that that test failed. If they've clicked through to the ad and actually visited the website, maybe you actually have on there a buy now button that then takes you to that form, because then you can measure the intention of whether someone's clicked that button. Do you see what I mean? So if you build too many steps of funnel and you're measuring the absolute end of it, you might be missing some important key data in the beginning. So that's always important. So when you're testing something, just make it as simple as possible. How can I text X? What will the result be? What's a successful experiment? And then you can judge it from that. You don't need to build all of these sections. And bear in mind, I'm talking about fast iteration and testing now. So this might be something you run for 2 or 3 days. You get loads of visits to the website. It's like, right, now I'm going to start capturing email addresses. What information do I need? And you do it like that. So it's not like you have to set this, leave it for a month. You can be learning literally in minutes, hours, fast iteration of testing and measuring. And that's what we're talking about here. Oh, what's going off?
A moment of silence. I was just thinking, my brain was there. I'm thinking also, like, so we've got testing. You mentioned Facebook ads. Putting some ads up. Really, you can do that really cheaply for like £1, £2 a day. Put your message out there and see if people are clicking it. You can do the same for Instagram. Also, just talking to people. So all the things we're using are kind of tech-based at the moment. But, if you're in a community and you're creating something, I don't know, for the surfing community or the sports community or the dog community and something, for dogs, you can just get out there and start talking to people. If you're creating a new lead and you think that would be great for the dog community, get out to your local park and start talking to people. Would you be interested in this? What kind of thing? What are you using now? Like, market testing can also be done like face to face, which is something that we can forget about sometimes because the world's so tech orientated. But just having those conversations and talking about your product ideas is super important as well. Because they might be early adopters, because they'll love your idea, they'll love talking to you, and they'll be like, let me know when it comes out. And just building those kind of one-to-one relationships as well is super key.
Exactly, and that's always the first point. I mean, we've almost jumped past that, but talking about your idea, actually, and not just friends and family as well, because you can get a very mixed response. They'll either be like, "Oh yeah, that's amazing," or you'll get the, "Oh well, why has no one done that already?" If it sounds too good to be true, and people like. Unfortunately, I don't want to get too much into the psychology of it or anything, but a lot of the time people don't want you to succeed. It's almost like if you're in a circle, people like to keep you the same. They're almost scared of you succeeding because they don't want you to change. People fear change, right? So you're not always going to get the best answers. And sometimes people will be overly supportive and tell you things that are just, and they don't even see through the cracks of it. And you only have to watch things like X Factor when you see those people on there and you're like, how on earth have they got this far? Their friends and family have told them that they're good and they're clearly not. And it's like, do they actually think they are good? Or could they just not tell them? And you never really know, do you? But, that's a great example of what can happen when you just rely on a very tight circle to talk about your ideas. So go out there, really put yourself out, go to networking meetings, obviously online now, and just talk randomly to other people about it. If you're thinking of selling a product, ring up some potential customers as if you were going to sell it, see what they think. It doesn't matter that the product's not there. Like if they suddenly turn around and say, actually, I love your product, I want to buy it, then that's a nice problem to have, right? So if you're ringing up and you're going to sell the latest widget to somebody and they're like, yeah, this is amazing, mate, I want it, where do I sign? It's like, oh shit, I need to build it now. I'll get back to you on that one. But then you know straight away. So talk about it as much as possible. Don't be afraid that someone's going to rip off your idea. It's your passion, it's your idea. This is normally the number one thing that will stop people from talking about it. They'll think an idea is that good and they don't want to share it. But until you share it, it doesn't become reality. So really talk about your idea as much as you can. So yeah, that was almost our biggest bit of advice. So we jumped from that to the next one. So Debbie,
carry on. We're giving all the advice in a nonsensical order, but that's fine, isn't it? Like, hopefully people have pens and paper and write things down. But I think it's our enthusiasm, isn't it? And I think when you set up businesses, you're enthusiastic about it. You should want to get it out there. You should want to be talking to people. You want to be sharing your stuff. You want to influence people, and part of like selling and marketing is, how do I influence people that this is a great idea and that this can solve their problem? So the more that you're talking to people about it, the more you're testing out, did people look at me blankly when I explained it in this way? And then when I explained it in this way, did they get it and were they excited? And just that element of communicating with people about it will help you hone in on what's important to people, which messages do they resonate with, and which when I say this, do they just sort of look like they have no idea what you're talking about? Because it's fine tuning, isn't it? What's important to people, which bits of this kind of resonate. So the more you talk, the better you can hone your pitch as well.
Exactly. And I think your point earlier about listening as well, and it's just talking, but then listening, judging those reactions and just reading between the lines with things. And if someone is giving you some feedback that may be like, oh, I don't know about that, like just dig a little bit deeper and just really try and understand exactly what it is they liked or didn't like about that idea. That's a really key thing. So what I was going to say earlier was that when it comes to social media, like you're one of the best in the business, Debbie. You've got multiple awards for all of this stuff. So we've got nobody better to ask questions about all this, because that almost comes onto point 3. Like, you don't necessarily need a website. You were saying about saying Pinterest and Instagram and things like that. So, we have now all of these tools such as going live, reels, stories. What have you got to, what would your advice be about talking about an idea on there?
So I think the first thing is to consider what you enjoy using. Some people find social media terrifying, and some people will be on it anyway because they enjoy using different platforms. So think about where you're comfortable being, and obviously you need to kind of push yourself a little bit. One of the things that stumps a lot of people when they first start a business is that if you've worked in marketing before, or you've sold products, it's really easy to sell other people's products because they're not your products. You haven't designed them. It's not you. When you have to step over and go, now you're buying me and my services, it's a pretty vulnerable place to be. But if you don't tell people that your product's there, nobody will know it's there. So there is a stepping into that kind of, okay, so I'm going to talk about it and I'm going to be vulnerable, and it's okay to be vulnerable. I think part of it is working out who your customers are. So who are the people that have the problem that you're solving, and where can I find them? Something like Instagram tends to be a slightly younger crowd, and people on that platform actually enjoy following brands and they buy from that platform. So Instagram, people tend to go there with kind of a buyer's mindset. And one of the changes that's happening to Instagram, and they're rolling it out in America, is they're going to have a one-click buy from Instagram. So they're learning that a lot of people will sell products and then send people to something like Etsy, which is a third-party platform. But Mark Zuckerberg has realized that he can actually take part of that Etsy kind of profit and have a one-click buy from there, and kind of also go after the likes of Amazon. So more and more people are going to Instagram buying products. So if it's a product-based business, if it's something that people can buy and consume, then it would be worthwhile going on there. And I know plenty of people that don't even have websites, who literally just use Instagram. They post up their product, They say it's one of a kind, or this is, you know, the original. DM me if you want it. The first person to DM me gets it. And they've built their business from that scratch. Something like Facebook tends to be kind of, maybe, I mean, 70% of the UK that's online has a Facebook account. So it's a really broad audience. But Facebook can be quite tricky if you're starting from ground zero to get traction. It's kind of quite an uphill battle. But we were talking about using Facebook and Instagram ads, and that's when you're paying to get in front of people. So you could create a Facebook ad just to test. If I say this is the product, will people click on it? And like Bertie said, you're not necessarily testing if people go to the website and then click the button on there. You're just testing, are people responding to the ad? Because if people are responding to the ad, then you know that people are interested in your idea, and then you can go back and fine tune it. And then you've got something like LinkedIn, which is massively growing all the time. It's one of the fastest growing platforms. And I think that it's had a reputation of being a bit businessy and maybe a bit maybe a bit pale, male and stale, but it's changing rapidly all the time. And some of the biggest success stories on LinkedIn are people going on there with products that they might historically sell on something like Instagram, but they've got a lot of competition on Instagram. But if they go to somewhere like LinkedIn, then they can be the only ones selling that. So LinkedIn's something I wouldn't ignore. And then you've got things like Pinterest. You can do advertising on Pinterest. And if you're, I think Business Insider called Pinterest the platform, if your customer are rich women with money to spend, then that's maybe where you want to get your stuff, because it's more like a search engine where people go to search for things. Holidays, experiences, shoes, coats, business coaches, all those type of people. So I think the first thing before you get stuck into social media is really just think, where's my audience and how can I build a relationship with them? Because you can take people on a journey with you while you're building your brand, while you're testing your products. You know, you don't want to, like Bertie said, you don't want to have the finished product and then try and sell it, because you're starting from ground zero. Why not take people on that journey with you while you're creating it, while you're testing it, while you're going through your iterations? They're going to be championing you along. They're going to be excited when you launch. They're going to be there with you. So build that audience as you go. I think that's really key, not to go, da-da, here's the product, and then have no audience, because that's really hard to be that. And also I think thinking about things like crowdfunding platforms, which aren't per se social media, but things like Crowdcube or Kickstarter, Kickstarter is the most famous one of it. The reason why those platforms are really good is because you can go out there, you're almost raising capital, and by raising capital, you're finding out if people are interested in the end product. So you're not having to put any money into creating something. You're just getting people excited about your idea. So there's so many tools. There's, like Bertie said, kids don't know how easy they've got it. There's so many tools that we can use, but I think you've got to start somewhere, and you've got to be brave, and you've got to be prepared to be vulnerable and fail. And people say, I don't get it. But if you're passionate about what you do, keep going. Don't let the naysayers get you down. Keep testing, keep changing, build that community, get people excited and take them with you. People love a trier. We love supporting people, don't we, who are going through the journey.
And that's it. And that's almost the point about, not just friends and family, talking within a different circle, to either people like me or Debbie, which I should probably say, actually, because generally what happens after these, someone will get in touch and say, oh, actually, yeah, I understand what you say, but it doesn't apply to me because this idea is really good and I've already done this. And then actually I just give exactly the same advice of what I've just said on here. But I suppose hearing it one-to-one, it's almost just that little bit of confirmation that they need. So if anyone does have any questions, then get in touch directly to either of us if you want to follow up. But I forgot the point of what I was going to say. What were we talking about? Because I started reading the comments, and we've had comments coming through now, so I was going to jump into some of those. But do you want to jump? We'll go to the comments. So we had Steve, and then Catherine's come in and answered it already. Anyways, but we'll go. So Steve has said, I can do this. Oh, look at that! Can you see that, Doodah?
Is it overkill to post the same thing on all platforms at the same time. I feel that anyone who follows all my channels might be, there's not that many, I'm sure. Okay, so here's the thing, Steve. I do that all the time. Like, I pretty much post the same thing across most platforms, because if you're going to spend time creating a really great piece of content, why just share that with one audience? And what I find is that people who love LinkedIn don't use any other platforms. People that love Facebook might also be on Instagram. But actually, I have people say, oh my God, your email just landed in, I've read it, and then I read it again as a Facebook post, and I'm commenting and I'm telling you how much I love the email that I've just read on Facebook. People don't mind if the content is good. If the content isn't good and it's not written with your audience in mind, and it's not engaging, or it's not teaching them something, or it's not emotional or funny, you know, those kind of things that you need to do, then maybe it might be overkill. But I think if you've put the effort into creating a good piece of content and you thought about it, why not post it everywhere? Because life's too short to be thinking of lots of different conversations on lots of different platforms. I don't have the time for that, and I'm sure most entrepreneurs don't. So I think that's fine. I do it, and I've never had anybody complain. And I'm always getting new followers, so I think it's fine.
Yeah, no, I would say the same thing. I mean, I suppose I've been going through, so I don't post on LinkedIn. Well, I don't post on social, probably is, you know, I do the same thing as much as what I should be doing, probably what most people say. But that's all going to change now. But yeah, what I did was like I had loads of content that I'd post on Instagram, and I just started repurposing that and posting it on LinkedIn. And actually, some of the stuff, and what I found is post it on LinkedIn without the images generally was better. But you know, that was just
that's a really good.
Yeah.
I think comments without posts on LinkedIn tend to get more traction, but honestly, sometimes I'll post on Facebook without an image as well, and that'll get more attention because there's loads of images on Facebook. So sometimes if you're thinking about marketing, look at what everybody else is doing and then maybe do a curveball and do something different. But the thing is to test for your audience. There's no hard and fast answers. Like, test that out for a couple of weeks, Steve, using the same content across all platforms, and then you'll get some idea about whether people are really annoyed at seeing the same thing or not. But honestly, if you're writing a beautiful blog post or something that's really good and you've put lots of time and effort into it, why not share it everywhere else? So yeah, exactly. What's Catherine put? She cross posts on various channels. There you go. So Catherine does the same thing. And because her connections vary in each. And honestly, it's really interesting. I'll post the same thing on Facebook as to LinkedIn, as to Instagram. And the comments can go one of two ways. On Facebook, they can go a little bit left field. LinkedIn tends to have really good quality comments. I end up having really good conversations with people and getting deeper into things. So
isn't it? It's like it almost, you can start going back and forth with the comments on there. Yeah, I find that.
Yeah. So just give it a go, Steve, and let us know how you get on. But if you're creating great images and great captions, just post it everywhere.
Yeah.
Save
and I think what I was just trying to say, like, I'd reuse some of my old content from different channels and just posted it. And there was something I posted a few weeks ago, and this is how, you know, powerful LinkedIn is at the moment. Like, it didn't just get one like, but one person who had liked it, that meant it was shown in his feed. So someone that wasn't even connected to me then got in touch and became a client the next day, just off the back of it wasn't even new content, it was just some old content that I just repurposed. But as an example now, like this live today, this will be downloaded. I'll then put it into editing. If there's any little snippets, you've probably seen the little snippet things that I post. So, you know, I'll be reusing this content across all channels and just scheduling that for different times. So, yeah, there's lots of things that you can that you can do. So, just if you've wrote one piece of really good content, or you've got a video or something like that, you can butcher that down and turn it into lots of other little elements and just direct it back, as long as it's adding value. And that's always the question that I ask. I never try and make it about me. It's always about, actually, this could help somebody. Like, if the questions that we spoke about today, can it help somebody else? So it's never all like, and obviously people's businesses are very different, but for me personally, it's never part of a funnel as such. Is that if this helps and then this builds confidence, then over time, then they may become a client or maybe have a conversation. As long as they're getting value out of it, I'm really not that bothered. That's the stage that I'm at. But I did a talk like a year ago. I think you were there, Debbie. It was the first time we'd actually met in person. And then actually it was like a year later, like someone he'd met me, seen that talk, and then followed me, and then a year later then actually became a client because of the value that he'd had from the stuff that I'd been posting. So a lot of the time it's a long game as well. So I think if you're doing something with an expectation of a result, then it's again, it depends on your business, but sometimes you could be measuring the wrong thing. So it all depends on your business about the stuff that you want to be posting. But it's a long game, and consistency wins over everything. It's consistency. Yeah. No, don't expect results from day one.
It really is showing up, and people need to build a relationship with you, and they need to see you several times, and they need to see that you know what you're talking about, and they need to trust you. And that thing about repurposing, yesterday, my email, the Facebook post, my LinkedIn post, or my Instagram post were all from a blog post that I wrote in 2017 about kind of the science of not working more than 25 hours a day. You know, it was about the 4-hour week, which is maybe a little bit of a stretch for most people to only work 4 hours a week, but that's a piece of content that I created ages ago. And you know, most people might have a load of new followers since 2017, and even the people who followed me then probably forgot that I did it. So if you've got great content that you've written a while ago, be repurposing that and sharing it. You don't have to keep recreating the wheel, keep creating new stuff all the time. Especially if you've been in business for a while, you're going to have stuff that you created a while ago, and you almost want it to be like a washing machine cycle where the best stuff goes around and around and around, because you're always going to be, you know, finding new people to follow you. And like Bertie said, if it's valuable and if people can learn from it, and if you're giving them something, then that's going to be evergreen content, isn't it? That's always going to be valuable and always going to be useful to people.
Exactly. And Steve, like just another point that you were saying, and this is always my attitude, it's like if I'm posting stuff and people are bored of it and they're not interested, I'd rather them just unfollow me anyway. Like, you know, I'm not there just to cater for the odd person that might get annoyed or just think, actually, this guy's boring. Like, if you don't like me, and I always say this to clients, like at the beginning of a call, if you think I'm a dick, don't work with me. Even if you think that I might be able to make you successful, like if you don't like me, that relationship is never going to work. Like it's a long-term thing. Don't look at the short term. Oh, I don't want you getting off this call and like, actually, you know, this guy knows his stuff, but he's a bit of an idiot. That's what you think. Don't work with me, because that's not going to get any better. That's just going to get worse. So it's good. Like if you just always be yourself, always just be exactly as you are normally, and then you're going to have loads of connections. Like I said right at the beginning, you're going to have loads of connections on LinkedIn, probably especially, or anywhere like Facebook, friends and family, people from school that you followed, distant cousins that are there just because like your parents have said, why don't you follow them? And it's going to cause a family rift. It's like weddings and stuff, isn't it? I'm not going to get into it, but it's the same with LinkedIn. At the beginning, it was magic 500 connections you had to get to, so you're accepting everyone. Now you're a little bit more picky maybe, but you've probably still got on there loads of recruiters and bots and other people that then accept and try and sell you their shit straight away. Just people that just don't matter. Just let them do one. Like, you want them to start unfollowing you, and then you're creating a much more engaged quality audience. And I think that applies to all channels. And I've made those mistakes. You know, I've just accepted loads of connection things on LinkedIn in the early days, and now I'm a little bit more picky. But that's just how it is, right? And if they're not your audience, if they're not interested, let them jog on. We don't care. Not going to lose any sleep over it.
It's like you mentioned earlier about making sure that you're measuring the right things. I think especially, we've ended up talking about social media, but anyway, especially with social media, you can end up looking at the metrics and thinking, what's the reach? How many likes have I got on that post? And you can get obsessed with that kind of stuff. What you really need to be measuring is the quality of conversations that you have with people, and how that might generate a conversation with people, or a meeting, or, you know, somebody referring you on to somebody else. They're the things that matter really. So you might post something and you don't get a lot of likes, but if somebody sends you a DM on the back of that and you start having a one-to-one conversation, that's definitely been worth it. You know, if you create a post on Instagram, for example, and it gets only 2 likes, but one of those people goes to your website, that's much better than a post with 1,000 likes but nobody taking an action. What you really want is people to take actions, and it is a bit of a slow burn, like Bertie said, because it is about building relationships. But it's definitely worth. I mean, I love running my own business. It's so worth it. Like if you're watching this and you're thinking about leaping in, it has literally been the best decision I've ever made in my life. Of ups and downs of running the business, it doesn't always go smoothly. Sometimes you get things wrong, but the freedom you get to create your own life, like literally, building your own life from scratch, is so worth any of the downsides. I would never swap this life with the 9 to 5 again, even though I mostly work 9 to 5 because I'm not good in the morning or the evening. But you get the choice, don't you, when you run your own business? So yeah, this is definitely the life for me.
Yes, exactly. No, and yeah, I echo that. It's exactly the same for me. And I think if some people are aspiring to that, because I think often sometimes you could like, oh, well, I'm not like you, or I'm not confident, or Debbie's really confident, things like that. It's like everyone started somewhere. Like, this is our first live today, and even though I think it's gone okay, I was nervous about it this morning. Like, come 9 o'clock, I'm like, shit, what are we going to talk about? Like, like we had all of our points. It's like, what? No one tunes in, and all of it. Like, everybody has those fears. Everybody has them. The only thing that's just made it different is that we've just got ahead and done it. And actually, like, we just had a quick call before this. Like, well, if no one tunes in, no one tunes in. It doesn't matter. We'll just have a chat like we would normally, and we've got to go out and test and try those things. So I suppose we're putting our money, our mouth where our money is. I don't know, something. It made sense in my head. Catherine made a really good point, which is like, the leads that she's had through social typically been from people who actually never directly engage with the content. Yeah, similar thing.
A client the other day, like a lot of her clients tend to be lurkers. So we like to call them lurkers, like people that watch your stuff but never comment, and then they'll suddenly get a DM from them or an email and they'll want to work with you, and you'll think, where did you come from? And they've been following you for years, maybe they've been watching your stuff but they've not been engaging, and that happens all the time. So it's a really good point, Catherine. Like, there will be people watching and engaging quietly and lurking in the background and just getting to know you that way. They're not necessarily the noisiest people who comment on everything or like everything. So, you've got to keep building those audiences and trying things out. And I think, like you said, people think, oh, well, it's all right for you because you're confident, you're out there. But honestly, I think I did a post the other day. When I started my business, I was poor, and the idea of charging more than £15 an hour terrified me. And clearly I've charged tons more than that now. But everybody's got to start from somewhere. Not everybody's intrinsically born into this life. I certainly wasn't. I remember going to a networking event really early on with a lot of very middle class women who talked about their daughters having harp lessons and stuff. And I went and cried in the toilet because I thought, I've just been on income support for 5 years. Like, I don't belong here. I don't fit here. And if you want to be successful, you have to kind of jump through those hoops and maybe be situations that you're not that comfortable in. I now talk at conferences, and I'm quite happy talking here. And, I lecture at university. The first network that I ran, called the First Tuesday network, I had to get up on the stage every first Tuesday and introduce the topics and say hello to people. I was terrified. I couldn't do that without half a pint of beer for the first 2 years to steady my nerves. Like, I was always, almost not on the driving limit, because that was the thing that got me through. But now I can quite happily stand in front of hundreds of people and talk. Each step you take, you build your kind of entrepreneur strength muscles in a way. Even if you don't feel that great now, just keep going at it. It will get better. You will feel more confident, because each little win you get builds you up for the next win.
Exactly. And I remember as well, just when you just said about the whole confidence thing, I remember having a conversation with someone when I officially started coaching, and the response was, oh, not another one, someone else who thinks they're a coach. Like, there's just so many people coming and like who've got no experience, things like that. And it knocked me. It just made me think, actually, no, I'm not a trained coach. I don't know. Like, I mean, you then start to question the stuff that it's like, oh, should I be doing this? Do I need accreditation? Things like that. What I've actually realized though since then, and it didn't take me long to get over that, like minutes, but when you look into it, yes, there are a lot of business coaches, a lot of people claiming to be business coaches, and I'm always very honest and upfront with people in that, I'm not a trained coach, and it's the stuff that I talk about and work with is everything that I've been talking about today. But I've been there and I've done it, and I've made mistakes, and people can learn from those things, and I can motivate people and all that sort of stuff. So just because I don't have the coaching letters after my name, what really fucking scares me, and it genuinely scares, I've done it, I swore. Have I done it already? First one. I thought I got away with it. But it really does. Like, I see these ads, right? And it's like, learn how to be like, pay us $2,000, learn how to be a business coach in 20 days, no experience needed, and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, that scares me that there's people then that have just done a course and are then coaching others based on their experience. And that's the scary stuff, I think. So I think, quantifying that, I think, yeah, like, I suppose the point about it is something that knocked my confidence. That could have stopped me moving forward. I could have taken that person's opinion and said, actually, no, you're right. But I didn't. I then did the research and thought, yeah, there are other people that are doing this, but that's not what I'm doing. So yeah, always try and just understand what those fears are and just try and quantify them, really. I think the point I was trying to make there.
Yeah, and I think it's like, dig into your values, the things that are important to you, and your why. Like, why are you doing what you do? Why do you get up in the morning? Why should anybody care? Why are you passionate enough to start your own business? Like, dig into those things, because they will be the things that when you get a knock will help you get back up again. Because you're like, no, I'm doing it because of this. This is the reason I'm getting up in the morning. This is the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing. The values that are super important to me, one of them is freedom. It's super important. When I work with people, it's important to them as well. And you build relationships with people that have similar values to you. So just dig into that, your Eunice, know why you're doing the thing that you're doing, and that will help you if you do get any knocks. But we all get knocks in life. That's kind of part of it, isn't it? Is it the Weebles that don't fall down? Wibbly Weebles, those toys.
Don't fall down.
Yeah, exactly. There's a bit of that, isn't there? Like, dust yourself off, get back up again, get back on the horse, keep trying. It's well worth it.
Exactly. So that's probably a nice way to conclude then, isn't it, Debbie? We thought we might last 10 minutes, maybe 15, 52 minutes we've been talking.
Well, thank you very much for watching us. We hope you enjoyed it. And we will be live next week again.
Yes, if you have any questions or anything. So yeah, thanks for everyone that's tuned in and commented. I know some people have stayed for that entire duration, so really appreciate that.
We love you.
And yeah, if you've got any questions, comments in between now and next week, do get in touch. And if you're watching this on the replay, any questions, then same applies. So thank you, everybody. Enjoy your Friday. And Debbie, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to see you again. And the internet was right, wasn't it?
It was internet down south. And also, Bertie has done all this tech wizardry. So thank you so much, Bertie, for pulling it all off. Look, we've got a beautiful B Bertie cord there. We've got this beautiful background. It all looks gorgeous. So thank you very much, Bertie. It's very a pleasure. Welcome. All right. See you later.
Take care. See you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. Don't know how to end it. You hang up.
Like, how does this end? Well, I can click leave. Shall I just do that?
Broadcast. I found it.
Bye.
Bye.